Hey, the average pro on TV has a distance secret, and this enables them to hit the ball really far without looking or feeling like they're using that much effort. And because of this secret, they also have extra distance on command. Meanwhile, the average golfer just seems to flail at it. And the more effort they try to use, it almost seems like the shorter the ball goes. So what gives? So this is an age-old mystery, and of course it leaves you hitting drives that are just much shorter than you'd like. And what's interesting is that the more distance a pro wants to get out of a drive, and the more distance an amateur wants to get out of their drive, it makes their swings actually go even into a greater divide in how they do it. So the key is how the professional golfer uses the ground while they swing. And when they want to go for more distance, they simply use the ground more forcefully and efficiently. And this gets them more club head speed and gets them down the fairway even farther, almost seemingly on command. And herein lies the biggest difference between the pro and amateur swings. An amateur, when they want to get the ball out there further, the hole is long and they're trying to get more distance, well, what they tend to do is use the ground even more poorly as they try to muscle up on it with the arms. So I could take a very effortful swing, not use the ground very well, and really try to squeeze it tight, get very tense from the shoulders down to the fingertips, and try to brute force this thing through with my arms. Something like that. So that's more effort that I normally use on a drive that goes 300 yards, and in this case I only got 88 miles an hour to go only 209 yards. So the ball flight was poor, the speed was subpar, and of course, what is that going to make me do if I want more distance? It's going to make me pursue the same avenue even deeper and deeper. It's like, well, I guess I didn't swing hard enough, I didn't use enough effort, and so the next time, if I go 210 that time and I want to get to 225, it means I need to double up on the amount of effort that I'm going to need. Meanwhile, a pro is going to be doing completely the opposite. So a pro with a really good swing, and this goes all the way back to the days of Hogan and Snead, and you can just see the way that they waggle the club so loosely like this, that they are ridding themselves of tension. What I like to do is, when I want to go for a longer hit, I try to loosen up even more. I want to get rid of even more tension at address. I want to be so loose from the shoulders down to the fingertips. My arms just feel like two strands of spaghetti just hanging from my shoulders. Everything feels just incredibly loose because I want to be quick and I want to use the ground efficiently and forcefully. That's how I'm going to get my power. So when Rory steps into a 350 or 360 yard drive, he's concentrating on applying more force into the ground to help his body move faster. So you put force down into the ground. In order to generate a lot of power, of course, you've got to apply force downwards, which would spring your body upwards. You've got to produce force in this direction, which claws your body targetward or laterally. And then of course you've got to produce a twisting force. Like if I was going to try to twist this mat around in a counterclockwise manner, well, that would cause my body to rotate. So we get all three of those things together. That's what a powerful tour pro is trying to maximize when they're trying to hit the ball for distance. This is why they tend to look effortless still, because from the fingertips up to the shoulders, it still looks pretty soft, pretty passive looking, very relaxed looking, and yet the club whips through at a very high rate of speed. Look at some LPGA players, for example. Here's Jessica Korda. I mean, she's not a slouch when it comes to hitting a long way. She hits the ball farther than, 95% of amateur men. You know, she's going to hit it out there 280, 290 on a good drive, but yet she looked like she's so slow and so smooth. Well, that's what she's doing, is she's creating this multiplier, this base that you're going to multiply with your hands. That is by using the ground efficiently and creating a very high moment of force or peak force. So let's talk about some of the body positions or the movements that we've got to make, which actually are resultant from the ground forces. But if you concentrate on making these body movements, you're going to create a better ground force profile, more efficient, more effective higher. So at the top of the swing, if you can straighten the right knee and you can bend the left knee, this is going to cause the right side of the body to get taller. It almost feels like you, without standing up, it almost feels like your center of mass is raising up away from the ground, almost like if you were going to jump and stomp down like that. It feels like you're going to create a lot more downwards force into the ground doing it this way. So we try to feel like the right hip gets very high and tall, right leg is straight, everything feels kind of tall on this side, caved in on this side, and then we're going to crash down. So this first move down, like we see Rory making here, and other great golfers that hit the ball so far, they crash down into the ground by now stepping down on the heel forcefully. Remember the Nicklaus stomp. Step down forcefully, and you'll find yourself suddenly in this kind of double flex knee position for a split second. Now, you can't really consciously think about this, it's too fast. What you're really doing is you're in the middle of a knee switch and a hip switch. So as you're moving down from the right foot into the left foot, you step down and you feel like you start to get heavy. Like if you were trying to make an analog scale spin, like drop down and make it spin over 300 pounds. Step down, get heavy, and then we keep going laterally so the pelvis is more centered over the left foot, and we're going to straighten the left leg up into extension like this while the right knee continues to flex through. So in this way, we make the center of mass kind of swing in an arc. So it goes down and then up as it's moving towards the target. If you can get your pelvis to swing in a kind of a pendulum like that, then you're covering 2 of the 3 forces into the ground highly effectively with just this move. So again, it's straight right leg, bring the left knee bent, stomp down onto the heel, almost like you're gonna boom, stomp, rear end still behind you, and then straighten that leg up in a hurry. Now what's interesting is that the quicker you can do this, so don't think about brute force, but think about supple quickness instead, you start to snap this thing. How are you going to do this quicker and quicker? Just through practicing and becoming more coordinated at doing it. That's where 90% of speed gains come from, is learning how to do things efficiently and then do them quicker. So it's something like this, get the right leg up and bam, and bam, just like that. And I'll keep going quicker until you almost can't see what my hips are doing. That's what the longest hitters do. Their hips are moving in this pattern just blindingly fast. So when I want to go for 10 more yards, 15 more yards, let's say I'm on a par 5 or something, and I need that extra distance to score, I am going to get looser. My whole attitude walking up to the ball is I'm really going to shake out even more tension than usual, because I know what I'm trying to do is bam, step in and shift over quicker. So let's take a look at how I might pick up 10 yards while looking relatively soft with the arms and hands. And that's out there pretty good. So when we look back at that one in slow-mo, you can see that my left heel gets unweighted as my knee comes towards the center. And this is what I really recommend everybody do, because the more you can unweight this foot by both rolling the foot inwards a little bit and lifting the heel. It doesn't have to be like a Bobby Jones style lift necessarily, unless you're really looking for that kind of distance. But just a little bit will do, like a Nicklaus position or a little bit less. That will do just fine, because the more you can unweight that thing and load up the weight on the right foot, the more that you can crash down and over more effectively. You just get a higher burst peak force of ground forces in the middle of that downswing. Whew, that's hammered. So most golfers need to exchange their power source where it feels like their effort is going in. You want the effort to be by efficiently and powerfully using the ground, which will make the ankles, the knees, the hips. Every time a body part moves there's ground forces. Even if I just raise my arm up, you do that on a force plate that measures your ground forces, you'll see that there's a change in the forces in the ground just to keep my body in balance. See, I'm throwing myself out of equilibrium by doing this, and there'll be an equal ground force reaction through your feet, even though it's very, very minor. So the two drills you want to be doing are kind of the shakeout drill, where you're just kind of shaking out the tension and gripping the club very, very softly. Try to get rid of 80 or 90% of that grip pressure. You want the club to be moving back and forth almost like you're going to throw it out of your hands. It's so light. And then practice making your pivot first correctly. Right leg straight, right hip gets high. Then plant over onto the left heel. Step all the way over outside the left foot. Claw your way over and start to rotate. The force gets really high downwards when you start to straighten up out of it. When you start to get tall out of this low position, whoop, that is when the scale, if it was an analog scale, would really go nuts. All right, so I want you to work on exchanging your power source, getting rid of the tension in the upper body, and start to put the effort and the quickness into the lower body and the way that you're shifting your weight and pivoting with your hips, knees, and ankles. I think you're going to get a lot better results for a lot less effort. Hey, thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. If you got some value out of this video, I'd love to have you hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button too if you haven't already. Check out my website, hititlonger.com. Email me if you want any personalized coaching. And if I don't see you in the next video, I hope I see you longer and straighter down the center. Everybody take good care.